Hey guys, it is the start of the Capitals 6v6 event, and I thought that I would give us a kind of weekly show, kind of prepare or go over the results going forward for the Caps Gaming 6v6 event that I bring along Scheckel here, who happens to be one of the better goaltenders in the event and on one of the top teams trying to get a piece of the $15,000 prize. What's going on, Scheckel?
Not much. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm okay. Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's just get into it, all right? Let's just talk smack about all these teams. All right, so what we're going to do today basically is just go over some of the first-round matchups and whatnot. We don't really have much to discuss because, well, the games haven't been played and there's a lot of roster changes that have happened, so we haven't seen a lot of these teams in their totality. So starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern is when this kind of kicks off and teams can play their events. Basically, they just have to match up with each other, choose when the time that they can play. If they can't play, they're going to be playing at 9 p.m. on Saturdays. They have all the way until Sunday. So let's get into some of these matchups, Scheckel. I want some of your opinions from your hot takes. All right, so in week one, I'm going to show you guys the schedule and whatnot. I want you to walk me through what is, your three matches to watch out for in week number one.
When you originally asked me about this earlier today, I gave you some matchups, and I didn't look at those matchups again. I re-looked at the schedule for this video, and there's actually quite a few good matchups, more than I originally saw. But we're only going to pick three. I think there's about 10 good ones.
Oh, 10? Really? Okay.
Yeah, there's about, I didn't count one for one, but there's about 10 probably good ones at least. But we are only going to look at the top three.
Okay.
And the first one we're going to look at is Phantoms versus Fantastic Boys.
Okay. Give me why you think that those ones are going to be, why that's going to be such a good game.
Yeah, I think this is a good game because it's two evenly matched teams. You have Phantoms who made their mark in the past calendar year in ESHL, the Esports Hockey League that's run by LG, which I'm sure many people know about.
Yep.
They have a ton of Sixes experience on LG with a good roster of players that are known. They're maybe not be top quality players, but they are known in the community. They just haven't reached that next level yet. They've had some good playoff qualifying runs, but they haven't really jumped into that next tier. And against Fantastic Boys, I think it's going to be a really good test early in week one to see where they're at. So with the Fantastic Boys, they, again, have a lot of recognized names on the roster. You have Chislin and Haxby leading the group. They've been a duo for years. They've always had a team together. They have really good chemistry, but they haven't played much in ESHL. So a lot of people don't know where they're going to stack up with everyone. Their main offense, though, is cherry picking. And if you're not ready for it, they will catch you surprise and score some goals. So overall, I think the people are going to think Phantoms are going to take this one just based off ESHL experience. But I think Chislin and Haxby are going to surprise some people, and they're going to win the series 2-1.
All right, hot take. All right, what about the next one? What do you got going on? What's the next one?
Yeah, so the next one's going to be Nothing to Prove versus Prophecy.
Okay.
This is probably the most recognized team and players in the community matchup. 6 for 6, 12 guys total. It has the most name recognition out of anybody. Nothing to Prove is kind of the team called Heroes from past ESHLs this past year. They have some subs, a little bit of different roster. Some would possibly say roster upgrades from their Heroes team. And they've done extremely well in ESHL too, surprising a lot of people, making playoffs and making it almost to that next matchup. But similar to Phantoms, they haven't reached that next level as of right now.
So we're talking playoff team, but not deep playoff run, essentially.
Correct.
Okay,
and we'll get to Prophecy. Everyone knows who Prophecy is. So they have a very difficult task in round one facing Prophecy. However, it's a good measuring stick for them, and who knows? Maybe they'll pull off the victory.
Prophecy does have a lot of top-tier talent. Like I know Kearns and Skills have been around for forever. But Keeks and Deji especially, same with Straight Psycho as well. I remember pinning from way back in LG.
You basically named the entire roster, and everybody knows those names. So Prophecy is definitely one of the top teams in North America in Sixes. I would say they're heavy favorites to be a top 8 team. And if I was on Prophecy or a util or any part of Prophecy, I think it'd be a disappointment if we don't make the LAN tournament. So I think Prophecy's setting their goals high and want to make land and think they can make there. So Prophecy can't be overlooking this matchup, though. I think this is definitely a really good, tough matchup for the first week, and by far has the two best teams. When you look at each matchup throughout the week, this is the one to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because like so many teams have signed up. We have almost I think over 600 players in total. So like you're gonna get a lot of matchups where it's a lot of unknown players, and that's what it looked like. How it just shook out, where not a lot of the top teams had to play against any of the known teams and whatnot. Which doesn't necessarily mean that those unknown teams can't win. It's just that it looks like Prophecy drew kind of one of the harder sticks in that they actually they got a team that might put up a fight or give them a tough test in number one. And how the format works, it could be kind of detrimental because you will play your winning team. So if you lose your first game and you go 0-1, you're going to play against 0-1 teams. Let's say Prophecy loses this game. That means another 0-1 team is going to have to play Prophecy in week 2, which is really tough. And you're looking at going down 0-2 early on in the season. Now, 32 teams are making it, so I don't know what the record would be probably to get in. I would guess probably 4-4 after the 8-week season. Would that be a fair guess?
Yeah, I think about 4-4 because we're taking about half the teams into the playoffs. So yeah, you're probably. I think 4-4. Depending on your goal differential, I think it's going to come down to that to determine team number 32.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would probably. Yeah. I could even see a 1 or 2, 3, and 4 teams get in, but probably. I mean, like going down 0-2 that early in the season is pretty tough because again, you're gonna. I mean, until the third week, you're not really going to see the matchups where you get the high end guys against kind of the lower seeded teams playing each other because of just how the format works. So after the first and second week are done and you get the 2-0 teams, those 2-0 teams are going to start playing each other, and that's when you're going to start seeing, the high-end best in North America going against each other. So with the early on games, you drop one early, and you've got to, take an extra week to get up there to play those top teams, and it's just going to be tougher to get the seeding, because seeding is going to matter a lot, especially in a single elimination playoff. You want it as easy as possible, or as highest seed as possible, because if you sneak into the playoffs, or you come 20th, something like that, and you're having to play a team that's in the teens where you could have won one or two more games and gone the opposite way, it's going to be a lot tougher. So that'll definitely be a game to watch. What's next though?
Next one, I may get some flack for this pick. I probably will get some flack for this pick.
Hey man, it's all about the comments, it's all about the content.
It is, and that's why I'm picking it. Okay, right. There's definitely going to be better hockey matchups. Like I said, there was a lot of good matchups out there, but this one has the biggest star in the NHL community, and it's going to be Montage Moment versus Mercenary.
Yes, let's go. Montage Moment versus Mercenary. Fair enough. All right, yes, I can see where you're going with this. Yeah,
so Montage Moment has the most notable player in the NHL gaming community. If you're looking at versus Hut, Sixes, whatever, it's Nasher. He's well known, and he's definitely bringing a lot of attention to Caps Gaming with his return to Sixes. So it's going to be his first big test to see where his team stands. And then he's got some other notable community names in Don't Be Sad and Rahanek. I'm picking Mercenary to win this no matter what, even if Rahanek was playing it.
Talk to me about Mercenary a little bit.
Yes. Mercenary, they have a ton of Sixes experience. A lot of their guys are known through league gaming and through the NHL quality over there. They've all played NHL quality, so they play some of these esports players nightly, night in, night out. Maybe it's not against esports teams in the top tier, but they have that experience of playing really good Sixes teams. They should definitely be a team that makes top 32, and depending on matchups, they probably make top 16 in Mercenaries. So I think it's a real good test for Nasher to see where he's at, and I kind of hope he proves me wrong. And I hope Mercenary wins 2-0, so I'm right with my pick. But I also hope Nasher proves me wrong, and they're a better team than I think.
Fair enough. All right, so now we've talked about the three, highlighted matchups for week 1. And again, it is random based, so it is tougher to have these like high-end matchups, especially with so many teams in it. So talk to me about a team that you think if you were a betting man, you would bet on them to win, but you think that they have the best chance or the highest chance of losing in week 1.
Yeah, so we've already mentioned this team, and I think the most likely top team that can be upset is going to be Prophecy.
Okay.
They have the toughest matchup out of anybody that you look through all 41 matchups. They have the toughest for sure. Both teams are really good. Both teams should make top 16, maybe even make top 8, depending on matchups. And I think the community would heavy favorites picking Prophecy to win here.
Okay.
And I think whoever wins game 1 wins the series.
Fair enough. All right, so winning game 1 is super important. All right, that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about your team a little bit. So you're on Entourage, one of the better teams in the tournament. You guys kind of made a big splash in getting the best versus player in North America, arguably, onto your team, which doesn't usually happen. The Sixes and versus community doesn't always see eye to eye, and it is curious to see someone from the versus community kind of taking a spot among one of the best Sixes teams. So talk to me a little bit about how your team makeup and what changed from your previous competitive gaming playoff season to the Caps tournament and your thought process on that.
Yeah, so we lost our right D. He decided to change teams, wanted a change in the environment that he was in, I guess. And, he decided to move on, which is his choice. And it actually worked out pretty well for us, I think, because I think Regs 84 is definitely a really good Sixes player. He's played with other Hut players in the past, and they just don't have the Sixes experience as other teams. And I think a lot of Hut players are really good players, and they just don't have that Sixes experience yet. And, hopping in with a team that has that experience, it just makes up for that lack of experience. And, I think Regs is very, very good. Definitely, possibly one of the best one-on-one defenders there is, even in Sixes right now. He's
so many Sixes guys that are gonna hate you for saying that. Like so many Sixes guys are already so mad about that.
I don't care.
No, it's gonna be good. All right, yeah. Let me put you on the spot here. All right, because this is this is before week 1. We have no idea what's gonna happen. We have no idea people that are gonna lose people, and there's gonna be forfeits, all that kind of stuff. Give me who you expect in Washington as of today. Things could change, obviously.
Ooh,
teams are gonna
as
outperform
of today.
As of today, who do you think, if you had to put money on, who do you think the top 4 teams are? You can say your team as well, because Entourage is probably one of the better teams as well. So, all right, so yeah, give me your top 4. What you think will end up in Washington among the LAN if everything went according to plan?
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to pick my team as one of the top 4, and we'll just get that one out of the way. No surprises there.
It. All right, fair enough. So that's yourself, Fisher, Hendry, J Claus, Curious George, Regs with CJ on utility. Very, very good team. I know most of them. So all right, what's number 2?
Number 2, I expect Composure. The most recent winners of ESHL. They have a very good defenseman, and many in the community think Odie is the best defenseman in the league, or in North America even.
He finally won a LAN.
Well, not a LAN. Well,
technically he won a 3v3 event in London.
3v3
That's still a LAN,
I guess. Sure, yes, he won a LAN.
It still counts. All right.
AI goalies.
Yeah.
But no, they've always consistently finished high in ESHL, and they just won. So they're definitely probably the number 1 favorites going into this. Did they have
any roster changes?
They did. Midway through the season, late season, they had Paralyzer, who was their starting goalie, drop, and they took
now with BBB, right?
Correct. He's now with BBB, and they took Foot, and I think they're still sticking with Foot through Caps Gaming, which is a bit of a surprise, I would say. I would have expected them to find a goalie, true goalie, because Foot is more of a defenseman.
I met Foot in Toronto, actually. I think I might see him tomorrow, too, as well, but he's a nice kid.
Nice. Yeah, I have nothing against him. He doesn't have the experience of playing Sixes as much as everyone else.
Fair enough.
And net at the high level, but I think Composure can still make it to Washington.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, we're going to go with a new team that many people don't know or heard of them in the past, and it's going to be Turning Point.
Okay.
They were one of the original ESHL teams back in like 2017. They have pretty much their entire core from that year, and I would say their number 1 player is Soilos, who's just on top of his game right now. He just played with Resilience in the last ESHL, finishing runner-up. But he's back with his original team and has a lot more chemistry with them and all those years of playing together. So I think Turning Point has a really good shot at making the LAN event in Washington.
All right, so what do you think for number 4?
Number 4 is going to be probably Resilience. They did just finish runner-up, and they did just lose both their wings in Stiffmeister and Soilos. But they still have their entire back end with Dowdy and Lemlin as the D-men, Jones and net. So I think they're going to do just fine overall. I say do just fine, but I'm picking them to make it to the LAN event. They have their new wingers are Jakku and Class Act, both well-known top sixes players.
Those are both really good players.
So I don't think they're going to miss or skip any beats along the way, and I expect them to make LAN as well if everything goes right for them.
Awesome, good to hear. All right, so let's see how we're gonna see how that's gonna turn out, especially with the single elimination for the first few rounds of the playoffs. Definitely could lead to just the way that Sixes plays. It's really tight. Sometimes it's based on just
a bounce.
Yeah, bounce. Sixes. A lot of it is how it ends up. So in a single limb, that's terrifying. Now that we've talked about the teams and whatnot, give me your takes. You've been around the competitive Sixes scene for years now. Give me the good and the bad so far of the Caps tournament? Not so much bad, but maybe things that could be done differently. Again, this is the first time an NHL franchise has kind of really put a Sixes event on, so literally anything is great. But what do you think is some room for improvements?
Yeah, room for improvements, I think, are the default times being 9 p.m. Eastern on a Saturday. Just not real good planning on that one. I think a lot of people are not around Saturdays. The esports community in NHL has always avoided Saturdays as any day of playing. I just feel like it's a really bad opportunity there. I think it should have been probably Sunday night, would have been a lot easier. Next, you have limiting the rosters to 7. That's kind of low. If one person has a bad internet connection, power goes out, something, you're down to your sub. And some guys live in the same area. What if internet goes out in a 500-mile span and now both your guys are out, and then you have to forfeit?
That's nice, yeah.
So that I feel like that's just a little bit too small. Should have been at least 8, maybe even 9, like what the esports community has been doing for years. The next one is
keeping the same for, like, if you made the LAN, you would just keep the same 6, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you need to bring all 8 or 9. Yeah. Keep the 6 going. But I think just for sake of forfeits and any weird mishaps, what if a guy gets in a car accident or something? It's just a lot of bad things can happen, and only having one sub can limit you restrict you a lot. So next is going to be playing games on Christmas week/weekend. We're only allowed to play Saturday, Sunday. A lot of people are gone on Christmas. And we have to play that weekend. So I think there might be some forfeits going on that week for sure, which stinks. And only being limited to play 2 days makes it very, very tough.
Again, that does make sense. So you're saying maybe skip that week?
Skip that week. Maybe let us play Monday,
I see what you're saying.
Tuesday, anything other than just Saturday, Sunday, especially during a holiday stretch like that.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is that Christmas is dead in the middle of the week, but I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
People are going to be gone for Christmas Eve, probably all the way through Monday.
Yeah,
so
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, that could definitely impact it. Yeah.
Got a couple more, and I mean, this isn't major, but there's the rule book. The rule book's kind of small. There's a lot of problems with junior stadiums right now, and the tearing that happens with the screen while playing. There's no rule about goalposts being red or white. If people are colorblind, that can affect them. When you have white goalposts, it's so hard to see what's going on. And then jerseys too. There's no rules about having dark jerseys for home, light jerseys. There's just minor stuff like that could be cleaned up and clarified, so there's no problems going forward.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, those are definitely smaller things, but could definitely lead into a bigger issue if someone was to try and exploit it.
The next one, best of 3. Like we talked earlier, there's bounces that can happen in Sixes.
Single elim is tough. Like in any form, right? Like
it's single elimination and only best of 3. That is tough. If it was like double elimination best of 3, that would be a different story. But single limb best of 3, I would like to see it best of 5 at least. I think it would definitely make for a better tournament. Just for example, Composure, they just won Esports Hockey League. They would have lost twice on their way to the winning the championship if it was only a best of 3. They would have lost first round and in the semifinals. Yeah. So that could cause a lot of things. And the last thing, no fans allowed at LAN that we know of right now. You're not allowed to bring anyone to the LAN event. That's kind of the fun part about these LANs is getting to meet everyone, having that kind of competitive environment outside of just gaming at home online. So it would have been nice to see a crowd there, but who knows? Maybe they are going to allow people there and they just don't want to advertise it right now. And it's just going to be a lot smaller.
I'm definitely on board with that. Like the whole guessing, like even just being like when I was at GWC last year in Vegas. I mean, I think there was only like 30 of us in the crowd, but it definitely made the games way more intense and like good. I mean, I think that you're still gonna have 24 people there at least from the thing, but I'm on board with that. It's tough. I mean, if you're able to, it just allow you in, right, or have one guest. I
just want to preface all those room for improvements are so small.
Yeah.
It's to be only talking about those as rooms for improvement right now is actually pretty darn good. Like this is a really well-run event so far, and having this small little things as improvement says a lot about how well they're doing.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Jordan, I know I just from talking with him, he's super passionate about making this event. Like this kind of feels like every other, like there's only been a few versus tournaments announced, and I just get this like sense that like once this was announced, like a lot of other teams are like, all right, let's see how this goes. And that's why I'm like, I've said this in the Discord, like I'm just concerned, like I just hope that people understand all it takes is one message to mess this whole thing up. You have sponsors, right. Like you mean it's totally different when you do it in LG and you get banned in League Gaming. It's totally different. But when you've got like a professional company sponsoring the event, they're not gonna like, you know what I mean? They're fronting the money. Like we're no longer small time here. Like this is a big event. This has a lot of impact on going forward for NHL esports. If this doesn't go smoothly, like the chances of it the chances of this one happening in the first place was so small, and then them taking the kind of the leap on it is pretty crazy. And if I think that like the production's gonna be there and all that. But yeah, I definitely agree with what you think as far as the good and the bad. But
I want to talk about the good stuff too. Six's event, awesome that a team finally took the leap of faith on us, and hopefully this goes really, really well. I think it's awesome that we have a Six's event finally, since NHL 09 and 10 was the last time there was a non-community run organized event. So that's pretty cool. I think Caps Gaming is doing a really, really good job of their engagement on social media. They have been making posts. Earlier today, they had the Stinger versus Slapshot 3v3 thing, just trying to bring any kind of energy and excitement about this Caps Gaming thing.
No, for sure. And like, I mean, then when they signed John Wayne, like they just went after every media market, like the outlet that they could possibly do, which I think a lot of the versus teams and like even the ones I work with, like it just seems like they're running it just for like region based, which makes sense. But like it's tough when you see, they're just trying to keep it like in house, right? You see the Caps are trying to broaden and trying to get this on like a global kind of thing for people to take notice and potentially have other teams do it, because it's hard to find the money for it. Just like all versus events with NHL, it's definitely the hardest of the 4 pro sports, but. No, man, I want to thank you for hanging out and whatnot and shooting it about Caps Gaming in the first weekend going into it. So I'm thinking that maybe we come back next week and chat about the results. Hopefully you don't choke, because that would be something. Right. That would be something. I would laugh quite a bit if you were.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you can have me on more and we can keep on talking about these events.
Absolutely. So, but I am No Sleeves. He is Scheckel. Tune in all weekend long. You'll see it on Twitch. All these games are going to be streamed for the most part, as well as the highlighted game on the Capitals Twitch channel. We'll be showing Montage Moment versus Mercenary. Time is subject to change, but I believe it's going to happen Saturday night. So just stay tuned to Caps Gaming Twitter or my own at No Sleeves Gaming. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.